Story reviews. I hope you enjoy listening to the story. I am a chambermaid raised in Whitmore Manor. Everyone knows that chambermaids are the personal attendants of young masters, but few realize that all chambermaids are carefully selected by the lady of the house. I entered Whitmore Manor at age 10, purchased by Lady Margaret. By then, I had begun to mature, my body developing and my features becoming clearer. In great households, selecting chambermaids follows strict rules. Chambermaids must have dignified appearances. Those with seductive beauty are not kept, as they would disturb the young master's emotions. But they cannot be too ugly either, lest the master find them repulsive. They must not be too calculating, and should live honestly. Ideally, they have no backing, so they cannot stir up trouble. They must also be thoroughly trained in how to please the master and serve him properly, coming when summoned with just a wave, remaining silent when not needed. Thus, red lips, white teeth, dignified appearance, and contentment with one's lot became the standards for selecting chambermaids. When Lady Margaret chose me, she saw my proper appearance, reps, white teeth, clear eyes, bright gaze, and very proper demeanor without seductiveness. I also spoke little, so she selected me specifically to raise beside her, planning early for me to serve her legitimate grandson. Lady Margaret's legitimate grandson was truly like an immortal descended to earth. Though the old master had 5 sons, only this one was legitimate and extremely intelligent. At 10, he could converse fluently with His Majesty in the Golden Palace. At 15, he passed the imperial examinations and became the top scholar, then entered court as an official. He is now a minor minister of the Court of Judicial Review, a third-rank position. Although Whitmore Manor is one of the most prestigious families, it had been declining with each generation. But this generation produced someone like the young master, truly the pride of all of Whitmore Manor. With such glory, the young master's marriage had been arranged early by Lady Margaret. This year the young master is already 22, but his mind seems not yet focused on marriage matters. Lady Margaret worries inwardly but says nothing outwardly. After all, the young master is on the path of promotion, she cannot hinder his ambitions. I bring a cup of green snail spring tea, gently set it down, then respectfully stand beside Lady Margaret. She closes her eyes, fingers counting Buddhist prayer beads peacefully, then says, "Tonight, go to Alexander's quarters." Alexander is the young master's name. My heart suddenly trembles. I softly agree, then quietly report, "Recently the young master has been discussing matters with colleagues in his study until late at night. I fear he may not be in the mood." Lady Margaret replies, "Alexander is no longer young. You are 16 this year too." I was brought to the manor at 10, always attending Lady Margaret. Truthfully, I am grateful to her. Thanks to her nurturing, I was chosen as a chambermaid, avoiding heavy labor. She occasionally has teachers instruct me. The teacher once said the young master likes educated people. I cannot be ignorant and make him disdain me. So my life is even better than the manor's young misses. Still, I am only meant to entertain the young master in bedroom matters. A chambermaid's lifetime fate is clear at a glance. If the young madam is kind, she'll spare my life, but if she's cruel, I might be beaten to death. Or if she wants to preserve reputation, I'll likely be driven out or sold. In any case, the outcome isn't good. That night when I arrive at the young master's courtyard, it's already late but he's still in his study working. I dare not disturb him and withdraw to his room to wait. The candle has burned halfway when the young master slowly returns. He wears an ivory white robe. In the cold night he has added a matching cloak. His slender figure stretches long under the moonlight, his youthful bearing still tall and graceful, with an ethereal, detached air. His elegant brows and thin lips slightly curved, he is truly a refined gentleman, courteous and elegant, with a dignified and composed demeanor. Even using all the world's most beautiful words to describe him cannot fully capture his refined elegance. Seeing me waiting here, the young master slightly furrows his brow and asks, "What are you doing here?" I lower my head, thinking he must be displeased. Otherwise, he wouldn't have left his chambermaid untouched until she was 16 without saying a word to Lady Margaret about sending me back. I carefully reply, "Lady Margaret saw the young master working hard day and night, so she sent this servant to attend to you." He responds coldly, "I don't need anyone to attend me. You should return to care for grandmother." He sits down and pours tea himself. Indeed, he pays no attention to this matter. But precisely because he doesn't care, Lady Margaret sent me. How can I be driven away by one sentence from him? If I have no value here, my only remaining path is to be cast out. My heart hardens. I step behind him. I've been learning to serve others since I was 10 entering the manor. My delicate hands have never done hard labor. I gently massage his shoulders with moderate pressure, my voice soft. The tea is very hot, young master, be careful. After a long tiring day, let this servant massage you to relax your muscles. Suddenly he grabs my wrist, his grip quite strong, making me slightly frown. I look at him questioningly. He seems touched by something and releases my hand, his voice still cold. I said I don't need you. Withdraw. I bow and quietly retreat to the servants' quarters. Though I follow Lady Margaret, I still share a room with several senior maids in the manor. Because I rarely speak, my relationship with them is rather bland. Only one has long disliked me, Ruby. That year she stood out for her beautiful appearance. But because she talked too much, Lady Margaret didn't like her. She lost the qualification to be a chambermaid and harbored resentment toward me. She thought if not for me, she surely would have been chosen as chambermaid. Today she heard. So you went to the young master's room. Why couldn't you accomplish anything, and had to return? Could it be you're also incompetent? Ruby speaks mockingly. Lily beside her gently tugs her sleeve. Sister, you shouldn't say more. But she becomes even more defiant. Why can't I speak? Can't you see what kind of person the young master is? How could he be tainted by someone like her? She still thinks highly of herself, having served beside Lady Margaret for 6 years, considering herself more precious than even the master's. She imagines the master would notice her. Shut your mouth. Jade was arranged by Lady Margaret. Whether good or bad in the future, she will still be by the young master's side. Some people dream their whole lives but never achieve that. Another maid, Rose, speaks up to defend me. She has the poorest qualities among the maids, and I don't understand why she always likes to flatter me, often pulling me into confrontations with Ruby. I just shake my head at her. Sister, no need to continue. What Ruby says about me doesn't matter. How noisy they are has nothing to do with me. I don't want to interact with them. In this life, after all, I will leave Whitmore Manor. Not caring about them, I don't even bother to respond. Just arrange my bedding and lie down to rest. The next morning when the sky is bright, I wake early and go to the young master's small kitchen to simmer snow fungus and lotus seed soup for him. Snow fungus is very difficult to cook until thick. I sit by the stove, dozing while watching the pot. Just as the young master is preparing to go to court, I bring the soup to his study. Indeed, he's still there, but beside him are several colleagues working with him. I set down the bowl of soup, feeling my face heat up slightly. I lower my head shyly and say, "This servant didn't know there were honored guests today, only prepared one bowl of soup. How discourteous. What type of tea would the lords prefer? This servant will go brew some." A refined-looking young man sitting beside him speaks teasingly. "Since when does your courtyard have such a lovely person? You've been hiding her, not letting us know." Truly deep thoughts. I panic and raise my head, catching the young master's deep gaze like a bottomless lake. His voice remains cold as usual, still not withdrawing. I had intended to curry favor but was pushed back instead. Though I cleverly know when to serve soup and when to pour tea, the young master's feelings toward me grow increasingly cold. I begin to feel uneasy. Lady Margaret has sent people several times urging me to present the handkerchief from the first night. But I've never spent a night in the young master's room. How can I present a handkerchief? Jade, you just need to stay by Alexander's side until the new madam enters. Then I will give you your deed of sale. At that time, whether you want to stay or leave, I'll let you decide yourself. But you must also fulfill the duties of a chambermaid. This is Lady Margaret's promise, and the reason I try to please the young master. As long as I stay by his side as a chambermaid until the new madam enters the household, I'll be freed. Then I can leave the manor and enjoy a free life, no longer a servant. But when Lady Margaret continues urging, I know I've reached a dead end. That night I bring a pot of warm wine to him. Early autumn nights grow cold. Young master, drink some hot wine to warm yourself. The wine is poured into a cup, steam rising and blurring everything around. Because I've served the young master many days, he lifts the cup and drinks it all without suspicion. I continue pouring 2 more cups, which he also drains. Seeing him finish drinking, I breathe a slight sigh of relief, close the windows tightly and bolt them. Alexander looks at me warily. not returning to your room to rest. He means I should return to the servants' quarters. It's late. Let this servant attend to the young master's rest. I gather all my courage and reach to undo his buttons. My wrist is grabbed tightly, his hand hot against mine. He leans down to look at me closely, his voice carrying unexpected gentleness. Don't do this, Jade. My heart suddenly trembles. This isn't the first time he's called my name, but it's the first time when we're alone. His voice is hoarse with a warmth that makes the listener want to soften and lean in. I can hear his breathing becoming rapid, his hot hand gripping mine. His hazy gaze as if affected by drugs, his usually cold face now shows 2 suspicious red marks. He also realizes something is wrong, gripping my hand as if to break my wrist. You drugged the wine. His voice is full of anger. This wine was sent by Lady Margaret through Lily for this servant. At that moment I understand Lady Margaret's intention. She only wants to know if her grandson is healthy enough, not caring that I, a lowly maid, might be beaten to death for angering the young master or sold elsewhere. I tremble as I remove his cloak, my voice unable to hide its tremor. Young master, this servant will attend you. I lower my head, my voice choking. Right after. He pushes me onto the bed, his burning body pressing against mine. His gaze remains cold but his breathing grows heavier, hot breath emanating. His eyes gradually become lost. You really want to be a chambermaid this much? He asks through gritted teeth. It's not that this servant wants to, but that this servant has no choice. Please have mercy, young master. His throat bobbles slightly, the last light in his eyes gradually fading. He speaks through gritted teeth. Fine. Don't regret it. I think I'm not that I don't want to regret, but that I have no right to regret. I'm just a maid bought by Whitmore Manor. People think my best fate might be as a chambermaid, or perhaps one day elevated to concubine status, forever remaining at the bottom of this family. Looking at the man I must call husband holding hands with other women, perhaps I'll bear 1 or 2 children, but they'll only be a chambermaid's children, not even equal to secondary children. My whole life just a marginal figure in this manor, living a dim existence, and I don't want to live like that. The next day when I wake, it's already noon. The spot beside me has long grown cold. That first night, he wasn't gentle at all. He tormented me until my whole body ached. Clearly once should have been enough, but he deliberately tortured me for half the night. When I sit up, my whole body feels torn apart. On my pale skin appear numerous ambiguous marks. I grit my teeth and silently tidy the room, then bring the handkerchief to present to Lady Margaret. She is very satisfied, allowing me to rest for several days without needing to attend the young master. This suits me perfectly, because after last night I've calculated, when he wakes, he surely wants to kill me. If I keep appearing before him, I fear nothing good awaits. Since I've spent the night in the young master's room, all the maids in the manor begin showing me respect. Even Ruby is no exception. People are like that, always stepping on the weak and flattering the strong. I sleep for a whole day. When I wake, it's already evening. No one called me for meals, and I naturally miss dinner. As a servant, if you miss mealtime, you can only go hungry. I just lie down to sleep more to avoid feeling hungry. Suddenly the door is pushed open. It's Lily's voice. Why are you still sleeping? The young master has sent people to call you several times already. Hurry and go. Call me. Did you hear wrong? Call me to be scolded. Lily nods. That's right. Rose said the young master scaded several times where you were and why you haven't come to attend him. I hurriedly get up, hastily arrange my clothes, then drag my tired body toward the young master's courtyard. Arriving at the courtyard gate, I feel uneasy again, so I turn to the small kitchen to cook a pot of chrysanthemum and pear tea, hoping if he drinks it, it will lessen his anger. The young master is sitting in his study, lamplight glowing beside him. His gaze is focused, brush in hand drawing delicate strokes as if sketching something important. Young master, I call softly. He seems slightly startled and quickly rolls up, the painting he was drawing, tossing it to the corner of the room. When he raises his head to look at me, his gaze has returned to its usual coldness. So you know to come here. Why haven't I seen you all day? Where have you been hiding so lazily? He asks rapidly, leaving me momentarily unsure how to respond. I thought after last night, he surely wouldn't want to see me appear before him again. But looking at his expression now, it's as if last night never happened. Could that drug also have memory, erasing effects? I offer the chrysanthemum and pear tea before him. Please have some tea, young master. He looks down at the teacup, then up at me, his gaze holding a hint of mockery. This tea doesn't have any problems, does it? I hurriedly shake my head. No, young master. Everything is done. Lady Margaret won't force this servant anymore. He lifts the teacup and takes a sip. The pure chrysanthemum fragrance and sweet pear flavor seem to suit his taste. Then he continues copying texts, leaving me standing beside him. He called me here, but doesn't scold or need me to serve. Night gradually falls, moonlight shining through the tree canopy, casting shadows on the curtains. I stand until my legs are numb, but he still diligently copies texts. Young master, it's getting late. You should rest early to avoid tiring your eyes. Actually, I can't endure anymore. Standing beside him without daring to breathe heavily, the pain from last night hasn't passed. I just want to return to my room to rest. He just gives a soft, and puts down his brush. Attend me for rest. I think I've heard wrong, because the young master has never let anyone attend his rest, except last night when I used tricks to help him undress. Before that, no one could approach him. Seeing me stand frozen without speaking, he glances at me. Don't want to. I hurriedly enter the room to spread the bedding. He follows and closes the door. Everything happens naturally, but my back stiffens, unable to stand or leave. He spreads his arms waiting. I can only grit my teeth and approach, beginning to undress him. Last night I knew I had no way back, forced to do it. But tonight, besides the tension in my heart, there's also a bit of reluctance. What is this? Could he have been drugged today too? My hands tremble so much I can't even undo a button. His breathing gradually grows heavier, hot breath hitting the top of my head. The surrounding air seems to become hazy and stifling. He places his hand on my waist, then slowly tightens his grip. Why aren't you as shy as last night? My mind seems to explode with a loud bang, my whole face burning hot. So he remembers everything. Then why tonight? I raise my head just as he leans down, our lips gently touching, bringing an indescribable feeling. He was originally a cold person, but now his whole body burns hot. He pulls me down onto the bed, his voice gentle as a feather brushing past. Since you've chosen, don't regret it. I think to myself to regret, I need the right to regret first. After that night he seems unable to stop. Every time he returns from court, he calls me to attend him, only releasing me when dawn comes and he must go to court. If he has a day off at home, he pulls me into the study, sitting all day writing and painting. Sometimes when he can't control himself, he nearly crosses the line right in the study. Such days continue for over a month. From initial fear, I gradually accept, then even feel some enjoyment. The time spent beside him, I can't deny I'm somewhat attracted to him. When alone with him, I can't help finding ways to gaze at his face, but he knocks my head telling me to focus on copying texts. He is an outstanding man with refined scholarly bearing. So many girls in the manor secretly admire him. How can I be an exception? But I understand too clearly the gap between our statuses. Lady Margaret went from worrying her grandson wasn't capable enough to now worrying he's too capable, indulging in me daily. Finally, Lady Margaret decides to confront this matter by summoning me. At first she doesn't state her reason clearly. Lady Margaret says nothing immediately, but has Ruby bring a silver tray full of gold and silver jewelry, telling me to choose freely. She holds my hand continuously praising how well I've done, telling me to take whatever I like. I'm not polite. After leaving the manor, money is what I'll need most, so I only take silver, not jewelry. Lady Margaret is very satisfied, then clearly states her intention. Alexander is no longer young this year. I've taken charge and chosen a marriage for him. That young lady is the legitimate granddaughter of the Grand Secretary in the inner cabinet, 16 years old this year, a good match for Alexander's status. I lower my eyes, thinking to myself Lady Margaret's judgment is certainly the best. Alexander has already agreed, but because the national mourning period hasn't ended 3 years since the Empress Dowager passed away, the wedding is set for exactly this time next year. After the engagement is complete, that young lady will return home. The marriage has been decided. My hands slightly clench. Fearing discovery, I relax them again. The bitterness in my heart is like a bowl of bitter medicine I must drink daily, seeping deep into my bones. So he already has someone to marry. Naturally I cannot compare. I knew this outcome beforehand, but hearing it, my heart still can't help but feel bitter. Perhaps this is human selfishness. Lady Margaret then takes out my deed of sale. Before, I said if you do well, after the legitimate wife enters, you can choose to leave or stay. Now you've done very well. I'm returning your deed of sale early. Whether you want to go or stay is up to you. I understand Lady Margaret worries the young master's feelings for me will affect his marriage, causing discord between husband and wife, so she wants to send me away from the manor early. This is exactly what I want, no need to wait until the new bride enters. I tremblingly receive the deed of sale, looking at the predetermined paper for a lowly person. My heart fills with such indignation that tears fill my eyes. I softly say, "Thank you, Lady Margaret." That night I hear the young master is detained in the palace. I pack my belongings, burn the deed of sale, take the silver Lady Margaret rewarded me with, and leave the manor. Lily asks me, "Have you really decided?" Actually, we can all see the young master truly likes you. If you stay, even when the legitimate wife enters, the young master will give you a position as concubine. Then you'll no longer have lowly status, and if you bear a son or daughter, you can enjoy comfort for life. I firmly shake my head. I don't seek that. Lily says nothing more. What surprises me is that she, who was always cold to me, gives me a silver ingot. I hadn't planned to leave the manor, so I don't need much money. Just take it and use it. We're sisters once, don't be polite with me. I don't accept it because I know we'll never meet again. I can't repay this kindness to her. Leaving the manor, life outside is truly free. Since childhood I lost my mother and my uncle sold me to Whitmore Manor, so naturally I have no intention of returning to find him. Now with mountains high and waters long, as free as a bird with silver in hand and time, I just want to fly far away. I want to travel throughout the mountains and rivers, then find the most suitable place to settle down. Perhaps do some small business, or sit idle playing with water. The rest of my life determined by myself. But after just 1 month, my body begins showing signs of fatigue. Walking is tiring, sleep is restless. The innkeeper, seeing I'm unwell, invites a doctor. The doctor's words leave me stunned. Madam is truly bold, 2 months pregnant, and still traveling such long distances. Don't you care about the baby's life in your belly? The teacup in my hand falls to the ground, shattering in the silence. How is this possible? I doubt, making the doctor unhappy. Madam, though I'm just a village doctor, I've read many medical texts. A pregnancy pulse isn't hard to diagnose. If Madam doesn't believe me, find a better doctor. I'm not doubting his medical skills but doubting myself. Since I began serving the young master in the manor, I drank a bowl of contraceptive soup daily. Regardless of effectiveness, noble families all taboo having children before the new bride enters. I always remembered this. Once when I was drinking contraceptive soup, the young master caught me. He asked what I was drinking. As a man who only debates in court, how could he understand these back courtyard matters? I honestly answered, "This is contraceptive soup." He slightly furrowed his brow, looking displeased. "Don't drink it anymore. It harms your health." I just silently obeyed. But behind his back, I still secretly drank it, not daring to miss once. Yet somehow now a child is in my belly. I lean down to gently rub my flat stomach, my heart can't help but be amazed. I can hardly believe this place carries within it a life. I once thought in this world I was alone and lonely. Unexpectedly heaven has given me such a great gift. I want to keep the child in my belly, not for the young master, nor for Whitmore Manor, but only because I'm too lonely. I want a child to accompany me through these long years ahead. Being pregnant, I can no longer live carefree as before. I decide to stay in this small town, buy a quiet house, open a small bookshop. Thanks to the silver Lady Margaret gave me, my life is relatively stable. The child in my belly seems to understand my heart. Since becoming pregnant, I haven't encountered any difficulties. Occasionally that doctor who once scolded me comes to check my pulse, but this time his expression is no longer stern but gently comforting. Women already suffer many disadvantages. Madam is pregnant alone. Everything must be extremely careful. If you don't mind later, when the child is born it can follow me to learn medicine. At least have a trade to make a living. I thank him, thinking if I've decided to settle here peacefully, maintaining good relations with this doctor is the right thing to do. Days pass like this, my life quiet and simple. However, rumors begin spreading in the village about a pregnant woman without a husband, cast out by her family. Each time I hear such gossip I just smile. How can one control the world's wagging tongues? I have my own way of surviving, let them say what they will. When the baby is 7 months along, my body begins feeling heavier. I hire a scholar to manage the bookshop while I no longer visit frequently, just walking around the courtyard to prevent the baby from growing too large. That scholar often visits me, sometimes bringing his ink wash paintings. His talent for painting mountains is truly outstanding. Unfortunately, he isn't valued and can only survive by selling paintings in this small town. I often encourage him. Sir, your rare talent will surely bring great fortune later. After being praised, his eyes shine brightly, asking back, does madam truly think so? I nod and smile. I believe sir can do it. Only leaving this small town is the most difficult thing for sir. I plan after giving birth to help him leave this place, because it's a pity for his talent to be confined to this small town. However, before I could give birth, a group of strangers appeared in the courtyard. All were strong, agile men. Then a noble, powerful lady entered. She looked around, her gaze full of coldness, but when she saw my pregnant belly, she smiled. Who are you people? Trespassing into others' homes is illegal. Do you want to go to the Yemen? I ask while observing her. She's about the young master's age. Could she be from Whitmore Manor come to make trouble? Knowing I'm pregnant, she sits at the stone table in the courtyard, her gaze arrogant. Don't worry, I'm not a bad person. You should call me stepmother. These words confuse me even more than her asking me to call her stepmother. I smile coldly. I don't even have a birth mother, how can I have a stepmother? She coldly replies, you have one, or you don't dare acknowledge it. Your mother was a concubine. You're pregnant without a husband. What qualifications do you have to speak words honoring your mother? Her words pierce straight into my heart like a knife. I clench my fists tightly, but my belly already feels uneasy, worried the child inside can't bear this anger. I speak up asking, did you come here just to insult me? If there's nothing else, please leave this place. She just smiles mockingly then says, I already said you should call me stepmother. Why so rude? After all, you're truly fortunate. After you were born, your father never had any more children. Now that he's passed away, you can follow me home to inherit his wealth. Hearing this, I'm stunned as if pie fell from the sky onto my head. My mother was just a chambermaid, living her whole life in forbearance without fighting, only knowing to serve her masters, living quietly and namelessly. My father was previously just a merchant who later used money to buy himself a ninth-rank minor official position. That's when my mother was bought as a concubine. My paternal grandmother, a woman full of schemes, knew clearly my father had no talent and would only sit in this small position his whole life. So grandmother hoped father could seize an opportunity. That opportunity came when a fourth-rank official returned from the capital to his hometown for 3 years of mourning. He had a daughter already 18, already old to marry, but encountering the mourning period made it even harder for her to marry. But my father didn't mind, only hoping for connections with this official's family. He proposed many times, promising after 3 years to hold a grand wedding to bring the new bride home in splendor. Marriage was thus formed. But during those 3 years, many unexpected changes occurred. The biggest surprise was my mother becoming pregnant, while the legitimate wife hadn't yet entered. A concubine having children first is a great taboo. However, this family lacked heirs. Grandmother had long hoped for a grandson, so she risked letting my mother give birth. But I was a girl, disappointing her wishes. Grandmother, fearing the official's family would be angry, drove my mother from the house right after I was born. She even slandered my mother, saying the child born was illegitimate. With nowhere to shelter, my mother returned to her maternal home, but there she was scorned by her brother and sister-in-law. Father didn't love mother. She raised me until I was 5, then passed away due to poor health. Before dying, mother gave all remaining gold, silver and jewels to my uncle, asking him to care for me until adulthood. Uncle promised mother before she died that he would find me a decent family to marry into legitimately, but the jewels and gold mother left only bought 5 years of uncle's conscience. After 5 years passed, seeing me grow increasingly beautiful, uncle was no different from his father before. When he sold my mother, he also sold me to Whitmore Manor as a chambermaid. These dark memories I had buried deep in my heart. Between me and that family, there's nothing left. You found the wrong person. I won't go with you. As for that inheritance, find someone else to entrust it to. Are you truly willing? Will you let everything your mother traded her life for fall into others' hands? She sighs, her gaze showing slight regret. Back then I knew nothing about your mother's situation. When I found out, she had already passed away. She continues, her gaze sharp and cold. Your father never had the fortune of children his whole life. He married so many concubines but couldn't produce a single child. Only you are his sole flesh and blood. If you follow me back, your child won't have to suffer your previous fate. It won't be cursed as illegitimate. It will be raised properly, given the best things. It will enjoy all the wealth and rights. As long as it wants. I clench my fists. She adjusts her fur coat, her gaze sharp as a knife. I'm not discussing with you. Whether you want it or not, the inheritance belonging to you will still be yours. I just don't want it falling into the hands of those I hate even more than you. These words make me understand better. She doesn't like me but hates others even more. Finding me is to anger those people. And so I decided to follow her back to the Juan family. There's no longer any reason to stay here. That she found me proves she has ways to prevent me from staying. Moreover, I'm about to give birth. If something happens, it would be 2 lives at stake. As a pregnant woman without a husband beside me, I've been harassed by ruffians multiple times, making it even more impossible to stay. Thanks to the scholar and doctor's help, those troublemakers were temporarily driven away. But I understand clearly that's not a long-term solution. Finally, I returned to the home where I'd never set foot before, a prestigious family. Indeed, this manor is grand and magnificent with vast wealth, and with a noble young lady like her managing it, the Juan family truly deserves its reputation as a great house. People call her Victoria Chen, just over 30 but already exuding the authority of an elderly matron. I think that's the bearing only those in high positions possess. She gathers everyone in the Juan manor and officially announces I am the Juan family's eldest young miss. So my real name is Jade Sterling. Lady Margaret once asked my name, and when I answered Jade, she was very pleased, thinking the name refined and not common, so she kept it unchanged. This name was given by my mother, meaning Jade is perfect, clear and pure. She arranges for me a large separate courtyard with beautiful mountains and flowing water, much nicer than the house I bought myself. I'm also assigned over a dozen maids to serve me. She says, from now on, the Juan family is your home, but you're currently pregnant and close to giving birth. All matters regarding property and accounts can wait until after you've given birth. For now, you should rest and be at ease. I understand very clearly they won't accept me. How can they easily accept when I've fallen from the sky to become the Juan family's eldest young miss based solely on her words? I have no foundation whatsoever, unlike her, who has powerful parents and a brother in the capital. Naturally, those in the manor only wait for the chance to bring me down and divide the Juan family's wealth among themselves. But I still have one card to play. She looks at my belly. A married daughter has no right to inherit her natal family's wealth. But a child is different. You've never married, you're just a chambermaid who was given freedom. In your belly grows the Juan family's bloodline. When the child is born, who dares deny its father's blood? She has investigated my past very clearly, even knowing I was once a chambermaid and was given back my freedom. It's not strange, she has a brother in the capital, so learning these things isn't difficult at all. So I stay at the Juan manor. The servants still show me respect, after all they just do their work. But some won't stay quiet. I finally understand what Victoria meant about those wanting to divide the Juan family's wealth. They are second uncle and third uncle Juan. Both are illegitimate sons, not sharing the same mother as my father. The old matriarch never liked them, so she had them establish separate households long ago. However, because the Juan family business is so large and complex, the 2 uncles never stopped coveting it. When my father had just passed away less than a year ago, they began stirring, wanting to divide the family and drive Victoria from the manor. But thanks to her maternal family's influence, they haven't yet achieved their schemes. When second uncle and third uncle arrive, I'm at the ancestral hall lighting incense. 3 incense sticks have been handed to me, but I don't accept them. Victoria advises me that the deceased still need proper rites, if for no other reason than to show the living. I reluctantly accept and place the incense in the bowl. Second uncle and third uncle hurriedly enter, pointing at me and arguing. Third brother, look at this. Look. Where does she resemble our eldest brother? We're not certain she isn't illegitimate. Sister-in-law, you can't just randomly find someone to come here just because you want to seize the Juan family's power. Seeing them argue further. She's a pregnant woman brought here just to scheme for the Juan family's wealth. Every word they speak targets Victoria, because I'm the person she brought back and I stand on her side, preventing them from gaining any benefits. Victoria seems quite accustomed to such scenes, listening to all criticism without batting an eye. She says, "Where doesn't she resemble your short-lived eldest brother? If not in appearance, then perhaps that bitter manner exactly resembles your late mother. Can't you see? I suspect Victoria is cursing them, but have no evidence. Both uncles absolutely refuse to let me inherit the Juan family's power. They say the Juan family wealth can only be inherited by the Juan family's legitimate descendants. That's the rule the old matriarch established before passing away. I am a Juan family daughter. Naturally, the child in my belly is also Juan family blood. When it's born, it will inherit the wealth. If you disagree, you can go to the underworld and argue with the old matriarch. Don't waste words here." Hearing this, the two uncles grow even more furious. They angrily say, "What gives you the right to be so brazen? You're just relying on your maternal family's power, having high officials and your retired father. That's how you can turn black into white." I can't endure anymore and speak up. If the two uncles have the ability, then go ahead and turn black into white. Let's see. As soon as I finish speaking, both uncles' faces turn pale. Victoria also glances at me approvingly. This is the power of authority. Though I don't want to admit it, I must acknowledge it's very effective. Victoria can control the Juan family, can bring me back and directly place me in the position of the Juan family's eldest young miss, giving me the household keys. All thanks to her power. She fears nothing because she has solid backing that others cannot oppose. She's that confident. But this strong and proud woman carries a painful past. According to Emma, my close maid, Victoria once had a romance with a poor scholar. But because her family wouldn't accept him, she kept delaying, unwilling to marry. Later she had to mourn for her grandmother, and further insisted on postponing, until after 20, determined to wait to marry that scholar, hoping to silence her father. But heaven didn't fulfill her wishes, a sudden illness took that scholar's life, and Victoria couldn't even see him one last time. After that incident, her heart grew cold, and she agreed to the marriage her father arranged, marrying into the Juan family. Unexpectedly, she fell into another wolf's den. My father was naturally lustful, disliking that she was over 20 when entering the family, so before long he took 2 more concubines. As time passed, the number of concubines increased further. Victoria's heart completely shattered. She paid no attention to my father's other women, living only for the Chen family clan. The manor's braziers have been lit warm. Victoria carefully holds the newborn baby, her usually cold face melting into smiles. She says, "I also lack fortune with children, never having my own child in this lifetime. Now seeing you give birth, I'm truly happy." Perhaps she's regretting her own youth. Ethan remains as well behaved as when in the womb, with 2 wet nurses caring for him without any fussing or crying. Victoria loves him dearly, spending even more time with him than I, his birth mother. I begin taking over the Juan family business operations, familiarizing myself with how the clan functions. Actually, before giving birth I had already looked through the accounts and various shops, but never personally visited the stores to inspect them. After giving birth, I decide to focus more externally. Outside I must deal with second uncle and third uncle who constantly covet, inside I must watch for internal betrayal in the shops. Victoria pours all her affection on Ethan, while I begin going out to inspect the Juan family's business shops, spread throughout the province, from antique shops and banks to general stores and inns. I start with the nearest places, then gradually expand outward. This continues for 5 years. 5 years after I return to the Juan family. Just stepping down from the carriage, I see Victoria hurriedly running out to greet me, ordering servants to hold a fur coat to cover me. But the cold wind blows onto the small person behind me. She scolds endlessly. "You there. You're always busy with business matters. Why did you have to bring Ethan along? He's only 5 years old, following you around suffering like this. How could you?" This time I only went to the neighboring town for 5 days. But hearing her speak, it's as if I took Ethan away for 5 years without returning. She instructs. "Next time if you want to go by yourself. Don't take my Ethan anymore." Since Ethan was born I've been busy with business, so Victoria has cared for him more. Therefore she loves him even more dearly. Ethan sweetly hugs her neck and acts spoiled. "Grandmother, Ethan missed you so much." As if he hadn't seen her for several autumns. "Oh my Ethan, My treasure. Victoria is overjoyed. Grandmother will take you out to play, take you to meet my brother. Victoria turns to ask me, what should he call him? I shake my head, I don't know. Call him sir or whatever, it's not clear yet. I've never discussed ranks. Ethan is obedient. Your brother from the capital is back on leave. Grandmother will take you to meet him. Is that all right? I heard he's also bringing a friend from the capital. Grandmother will take you to meet them. Do you like that? Ethan shakes his head. No, no. Ethan only wants to stay home with grandmother, watch the fish and listen to stories. Victoria then smiles gently. All right. Everything according to Ethan's wishes. She carries Ethan away, not even glancing at me standing at the door. Emma comes beside me and whispers, Lady Victoria's brother Thomas Chen will come to the Juan Manor tonight to visit his sister. Just when you've returned. She told you to prepare as well. A shadow appears in my mind, but I just smile faintly. 6 years already. Perhaps he no longer remembers me. According to my calculations, he must have been married for 5 years. The child is probably only 1 or 2 years younger than Ethan. Realizing what I'm thinking, I quickly brush it aside, reminding myself not to think of him anymore. Thomas is now a third-rank high official, his power even greater than his father's before. When his father hadn't yet risen high before retiring, the Juan Manor carefully prepares everything this time, no mistakes allowed. Though he comes just to visit his sister, the Juan Manor still cannot be discourteous. That night the Juan Manor is more lively than usual. I also prepare carefully, dressing more elegantly than normal. Victoria has gone out to greet her brother. I lead Ethan's hand, slowly walking out, instructing him. Today we have important guests at home. You must be good, don't be naughty. Later mother will take you to the back garden to pick osmanthus flowers. All right. Ethan seriously nods. When he raises his head to look outside, his childish clear voice rings out, that uncle is so handsome. I smile, raising my head to look, thinking to myself it must be Thomas. The smile at the corner of my mouth slightly freezes when I see the man before me. His bearing is still refined as in my memories, but his temperament now has added coldness, stability, and more maturity than 6 years ago. His clear eyes carry an icy quality. He glances at Ethan then stops on me, his gaze icy cold to the point of making me shiver. Victoria, still unaware, introduces, this is my daughter, the head of the Juan family household, and this is her child. When hearing the introduction, his eyes become even more profound, as if growing colder. He speaks with an indifferent tone. Looking at Lady Juan so young, I didn't expect the child to be so grown already. Indeed, my child is only 4 years old, just 4 years old. Victoria looks at me confused, then turns to look at Lord Alexander, as if not understanding what's happening. Lord Alexander smiles, but the smile is full of mockery. Very good, very good. Just then Thomas interjects, a tall figure stepping forward. Brother, why speak so? Still haven't introduced. Lord Alexander is currently a second-rank Vice Minister of Personnel, an important figure in the capital. Sister, you must take good care of him. He has indeed been promoted. I gently bow. This commoner Jade Sterling pays respects to Lord Alexander. He glances at me, his gaze cold to the bone, then is pulled away by Thomas to attend the banquet. Just now I misspoke, saying Ethan is 4 years old. That's because I deliberately don't want him to know I bore his child. This child was originally the result of me drinking contraceptive soup without missing once, an existence the Whitmore family didn't expect. I am the host, so regardless must sit at the same table with an important guest like Lord Alexander. Victoria is naturally overjoyed to reunite with family, chatting endlessly and offering wine to Thomas. While I sit beside with Ethan, feeling restless and uneasy. Ethan begins showings of sleepiness, rubbing his eyes. Taking this opportunity, I stand and apologize. The child is playful and probably sleepy now, might cry and fuss. I ask permission to take him down to coax him to sleep. Please, my lords, make yourselves comfortable. When a child is sleepy, leave it to the wet nurse. You're the host, how can you not sit with guests for the meal? Lord Alexander pours wine for himself, his phoenix eyes slightly raised, the look in those eyes hard to read. Victoria laughs along. That's right. Normally the wet nurse coaxes him to sleep. When did you become so worried? This is the first time. This is the first time I've seen Victoria appear overly relaxed. My back that was about to stand sits back down. Ethan has been carried away by the wet nurse, while Lord Alexander sits opposite. Whoever offers wine, he only drinks a couple sips then releases them. Not long after, I see he seems unable to sit steadily, his body swaying. My lord is drunk, take him to sober up. I see I can't sit still watching anymore. But then I hear Lord Alexander's voice. The Juan Manor is large. I worry the dark roads are hard to navigate. Better have Miss Juan lead the way. I have no way to refuse, so I stand and lead him to the back courtyard to sober up. I hold a small lotus lantern leading the way. Behind me, the man's footsteps vary in weight, sounding like he's quite drunk. I think to reach out to support him but then reconsider our stations don't match. When we near the rockery, my shoulder is suddenly pulled hard. The lamp in my hand falls to the ground, and I'm pressed tightly against the rock wall. You're very good, very skilled. Under the moonlight, his dark eyes carry a hazy drunkenness. This servant doesn't understand what my lord is saying. I turn my face away, feeling the cold rock behind my back pressing heavily. Pretending. You're very good at pretending. Were you like this before too? He reaches up to gently lift a strand of my long hair, lightly placing it in his hand to play with. So I was just your plaything too, right? I frown, realizing he's too drunk. Why talk of playthings? Young master, what are you saying? His tone carries threat. Young master, finally you admit it. I thought you would pretend not to recognize me for life. In his eyes flashes a hint of pain. The Juan family has taken back this commoner. But Jade has not yet thanked the young master for past care. I speak truthfully. That year, though I only stayed with him a few months, he never mistreated me. He treated me gently, not viewing me as a servant, often teaching me writing and painting. I remember it all. Yet you left. Is that how you repay my kindness? Why? He presses closer, his hot breath mixed with wine hitting my face. I want to escape, but he holds me tight. Jade is just a lowly person who has now borne a child. What reason is there to entangle with the young master anymore? If the family members knew, they certainly wouldn't forgive. These words indeed have effect. The hand gripping my shoulder moistens. He steps back several paces. You're truly heartless. Leaving me for 6 years. Your child is already 4 years old. You found someone else to start a new life, yet still pretend not to know me. My heart aches, fingers trembling, wanting to reach out and hold him, but in the end I restrain myself. He turns his back and disappears into the night. I bend down to pick up the extinguished lantern, find someone to relight it, then return to the front hall. The guests have mostly dispersed, only Victoria and Thomas still happily drinking. I have servants search for Lord Alexander. The Juan Manor is truly vast, this is his first time here, I fear he might get lost. Then I approach and set down their wine cups. The night grows late. Lord Thomas should rest early. Mother should also go check on Ethan. That's right. Brother, I still need to check on Ethan. He's my life now, my son. Thomas, not drunk much, pats Victoria's shoulder laughing loudly. Sister's talking nonsense. Ethan is your grandson. Victoria hasn't quite sobered. What do you think? If you follow me to the capital. Though there's already a generation gap between us, who knows, he might like someone like you. After all, Lord Alexander must have someone from our family to feel at ease. Victoria shakes her head then suddenly points at me. Brother, you're really muddled. If sister won't do, then let her daughter. If she marries well, she's still our family. The more they talk, the more ridiculous it gets. Thomas looks at me, nodding in agreement. Good. Then let sister's daughter do it. After all, the wealth shouldn't go to outsiders. Then our family will have both third and second rank officials, see who dares bully us anymore. I furrow my brow, truly getting a headache. I didn't expect Thomas and Victoria to have such similar personalities. But thinking about it, it's not strange, they share the same blood. I call people to help them both rest. Seeing Victoria's drunken state, she definitely can't care for Ethan tonight. After arranging for both of them, I personally go check on Ethan. The child has been put to sleep by the wet nurse, but looking at Ethan's innocent sleeping face, unease rises in my heart. Ethan resembles Lord Alexander too much. Though the child is only 5, his intelligence and appearance are very similar to Lord Alexander. I worry that as time passes, he will notice something. Fortunately, Thomas only stays at the Juan Manor for 2 days to visit his sister before leaving. I think tomorrow I'll have Victoria arrange for Thomas and Lord Alexander to return to the Chen residence. The next morning, to avoid Lord Alexander, I take Ethan out early, using the excuse of strolling and looking for business locations. Unexpectedly, I encounter Lord Alexander when he's also taking a walk. At that time, I was discussing with third Uncle Juan. Second and third uncle, hearing Thomas had returned, thought he would take Victoria to the capital, believing I would lose my support. So they deliberately came to warn me, saying some things belong to you and will be yours, but if they're not yours, you can't keep them even if you try. Facing third Uncle Juan's small bean, like eyes, my heart fills with indignation. Good that you came. I'll teach my nephew-in-law a lesson. You must understand my meaning. If you know what's good for you, split half the Juan family wealth. Otherwise, when your mother leaves, you'll suffer. I bend down to hug Ethan into my arms, saying, Ethan, remember this face well. From now on, you must call this person third great uncle. Uncle Juan, hearing me say this, thinks I'm yielding and laughs with a face full of wrinkles. I continue. But remember this well, never associate with people like this. Not only are they useless, they only know how to use despicable schemes against women. They're truly unworthy of being men. Ethan, being intelligent, seriously nods. I remember, mother. Uncle Juan angrily says, what are you saying? Is this how you teach your child? Truly a wild child can only give birth to wild children. My face darkens, about to retort when suddenly a tall figure enters, imposing and full of anger. Who says Ethan has no father? Lord Alexander steps forward, his tall figure in official robes, his noble and cold expression, his gaze sweeping over Uncle Juan with no less authority. Uncle Juan is intimidated for a moment, but immediately remembers this is Juan territory and raises his voice. Who are you to back up my widowed niece? Another pretty boy scholar? Lord Alexander says lightly. Ooh, I am, you don't need to know. But now, apologize to Ethan. He steps forward, taking Ethan's hand, looking at Uncle Juan with threatening eyes. Uncle Juan laughs mockingly. What grounds do I have to apologize? Before finishing his words, Lord Alexander quickly grabs Uncle Juan's arm and uses force to break it. Uncle Juan, accustomed to living in luxury, has never endured such pain and immediately screams, let me go. My arm. If you don't apologize, the other arm will also be broken. And if you still won't apologize, I'll break your legs. Lord Alexander speaks decisively without jest. Then Lord Alexander grabs Uncle Juan's arm, forcing him to kneel on the ground. Oh, niece. Third uncle just drank too much and said some nonsense. You know, third uncle speaks without thinking. I hope you'll be generous and forgive me. Seeing his wretched begging, my anger somewhat subsides. I smile. Getting drunk sometimes isn't a problem, but only when the lesson is painful enough will you know drinking harms the body. Don't you think that's right? My words stab straight into Uncle Juan's self-respect, leaving him no way to retreat. I no longer want to pretend patience because he touched my bottom line. Perhaps my tone isn't pleasant to hear. Lord Alexander decisively breaks Uncle Juan's other arm too. He screams and curses, threatening to sue us at the government office. But it's laughable. Lord Alexander is a second-rank official. Who dares touch him? This time I've also shown my authority. I turn to thank Lord Alexander, but he blocks my path and asks, do you really want this child to have no father for life? He doesn't need my answer because his tone is already cold enough. But Ethan steps forward asking, Uncle, people say I have no father. Is that true? My heart aches hearing my child say this, but Lord Alexander has already squatted down to Ethan's eye level, showing a gentle smile. How can there be a child without a father? I am your father. Your father wronged your mother, so your mother was angry and wouldn't let you acknowledge your father. That night I feel warm arms embracing me from behind, enveloped in hot breath, strong arms tightly holding me. My heart jolts as I turn to meet the ambiguous gaze of a stranger. He slightly curves his lips, his tone somewhat teasing. Sorry, the Juan Manor is too large. I accidentally entered the wrong room. Though his words seem polite, his eyes flash with satisfaction. I look carefully and recognize it's Lord Alexander. His eyes sparkle as if probing. After a moment of silence he speaks. I've thought a lot and want to ask Miss Juan one thing. Is Ethan's biological father still alive? The question pierces straight into my heart. I try to maintain calm, answering lightly but firmly to me, he was just a tool. When the deed was done, he had no more value. I lower my head and continue. With my current status and power, I no longer need to rely on any man. Lord Alexander slightly smiles, his gaze not leaving me. In other words, I can choose anyone I want. Why be bound to one person? What does the lady think of the person before her? He gently laughs. I'm also considered learned, my appearance isn't lacking. Being Ethan's stepfather might be worthy. At that moment I thought he was drunk and speaking nonsense. A second, Rank court official willing to be stepfather to a merchant family's son, truly hard to believe. I don't take his words seriously. Push him out and am about to call someone, but he immediately covers my mouth. Don't call anyone. I went through great effort to find my way here. His eyes are full of deep affection. Really? Earlier you said you got lost and didn't know the way, but found your way here easily. I coldly reply, you're truly cruel. But I can't forget you. The person before me, despite bearing the status of heir to Whitmore Manor, doesn't stop expressing deep feelings for me, a woman who has given birth. In his eyes reflects my image, no longer the innocent face from 6 years ago. Now I have the dignity of someone holding power, no longer gentle as before. He still maintains his nobility and grace like before, elegant as moonlight. I gently say, Lord Alexander, I thought you would also forget me without lingering feelings, but it turns out I underestimated myself. He laughs painfully, as if mocking himself. So I'm not important to you at all. I turn away, not daring to look at his hurt eyes. Clearly back then you were the one who wanted to marry. I was just a lowly maid, not worthy of your attention. His breath once again presses close to me, his strong hand gripping mine, not letting me escape. You want to run but can't. I quickly reply, Lord Alexander, you should have married Miss Dong already. Why come looking for me? He freezes, his gaze momentarily becoming clearer. Who told you I married Miss Dong? 6 years ago. Wasn't there already an engagement? Why hasn't it happened? There was never such a thing. He furrows his brow then laughs. You left 6 years ago because you heard I was going to marry Miss Dong. If not Miss Dong, it would be someone else, right? He laughs softly, his voice deepening. Someone like you, whoever you marry would be a good match. Only daughters of prestigious families are worthy. He slightly nods, indeed. But what if I say I've never married? He says with reddened eyes, stepping closer, pressing me against the wall near the door, his voice trembling. If I say I've always waited for you, always searched for you, would you be willing to accept me? No. I look up, meeting his star-bright eyes. At this moment, his eyes only have me, filled with such deep affection I dare not believe. I've dreamed such dreams many times but always told myself they couldn't become reality. That day I just stumbled in the palace, but when I returned, I couldn't find you anymore. Grandmother said you had requested your release papers and left without leaving a single word. He laughs painfully. I didn't expect you could leave so quickly. I'm that patient. Even I didn't expect myself to be so decisive. I answer softly. But compared to staying to watch you marry, I'd rather leave without looking back. Why haven't you married? I don't believe it's because of me, but in my heart still hope for an answer. He laughs softly. If I say I've never married because of a little fox spirit, would you believe me? I blush slightly, lowering my head. That's not right. I'm talking about you. You are that little fox spirit. He lifts my chin, our gazes meet. I sink into his eyes. These past days, it's not that I haven't been moved, but the truth is I've never forgotten him. Only when he appears again do the old memories surge back fresher than ever. Things are gradually becoming hard to control. He came this time prepared, and tonight he's determined not to let me escape. Rapid breathing fills the space, entangling like playful birds, lingering endlessly. The next morning, for the first time I wake late. Emma stands outside waiting for me to open the door before entering. Lord Alexander has left at some unknown time. I mutter, feeling empty inside. Emma approaches with a mysterious expression, whispering, Miss, this morning this servant saw Lord Alexander, the guest who came with Uncle, sneaking through Mrs. Courtyard. Wonder what he wanted to do. Should we pay attention? I blush, coughing dryly and waving my hand. No need, probably he just woke early for a morning stroll. But my heart can't help feeling flustered. I didn't expect Lord Alexander to leave so late and be caught by my maid. Emma still isn't reassured, softly asking, should we report to Madame? I frown, cutting her off. No need. You're going to tell Madame that Uncle's friend was sneaking around the manor. What will Madame think? It's no different from being caught red-handed. The more I speak, the more it feels like being caught in the act, making me more worried. Emma lowers her head, admitting, Miss is very right. Let this servant help Miss get ready. Today Miss woke late, probably because yesterday was too tiring. Uncle has been waiting for Miss in the front hall for breakfast. Hearing this, memories of last night flood back. I can't help remembering every detail of our meeting. Though we hadn't seen each other for 6 years, His every gesture remains deeply imprinted in my mind as if never apart. He treated me more passionately than before last night. Miss, why is your face so red? Emma wonders, her perceptive eyes often please me, but today I find them extremely annoying. People always say intelligence at the wrong time only annoys others. I quickly grab the powder box and dab my face, pretending to answer. Probably still drunk from last night. That morning the whole family gathers around the breakfast table. Though outwardly it seems like just family, in my heart I still clearly feel Lord Alexander's presence, someone who doesn't belong here. Victoria with her brother is in better spirits, talking endlessly. Lord Alexander originally isn't someone who likes talking much during meals, just quietly eating with his head down, not looking at me once. I slightly glance toward him several times but receive only silence in return. My heart suddenly feels heavy, as if what happened last night was just a dream. After breakfast with nothing important, Victoria invites her brother to stroll the garden. The Juan family garden is very large, built following the mountain terrain with a stream forming a large, very interesting pond. Victoria and her brother walk ahead while Lord Alexander and I silently follow behind, the distance neither too close nor too far. But my heart still ripples seeing his upright figure. I wonder if everything last night was just the result of drunkenness, and perhaps I've thought too much. The Juan family garden I've walked through countless times with nothing unfamiliar. My mood suddenly turns gloomy as I just focus on looking at the ground beneath my feet. Suddenly a warmth touches my hand. I look up and catch a fleeting smile on his lips. His large hand tightly grips mine for a moment then quickly releases, like a child afraid of being discovered by adults. I look ahead where the two are chatting happily, wondering what he fears. Fear of being discovered about our relationship. Victoria pulls her brother to go see the plum garden in full bloom. Only then does Lord Alexander lean close and whisper, "I've deceived Brother Thomas many times just to inquire about news of you. If he knew, I fear I'd have no face to meet him." I look at him questioningly. I didn't expect someone like you would know how to deceive, and multiple times at that. With a tone carrying some joy, I stop walking and look up at him. Lord Alexander's gaze holds a hint of pride, as if he's already secured victory. "So is Ethan, my child," I calmly reply. "Young master, back then I never missed a single contraceptive dose. If Ethan truly is yours, he must be very fortunate with a great destiny." He laughs. "Then he certainly has great fortune, because sometimes you didn't drink the contraceptive medicine." I freeze, not believing my ears. "When did you see me not drink contraceptive medicine?" He unhurriedly answers, "When I saw you drinking it. I had the kitchen replace the contraceptive with tonic medicine." Like thunder striking my head, I can hardly believe just because I said it was contraceptive medicine, he secretly switched it. My voice trembles. "Why did you do that?" He answers, his gaze gentle as steel. "Don't you want to keep our child? Only with a child could you stand firm in Whitmore Manor, and I could keep you by my side forever." I sigh, my heart full of bitterness. With or without medicine, I would have left that year. I'm just grateful I discovered my pregnancy after leaving the manor, and even more grateful for giving birth to him, bringing me the greatest comfort. Though he's your child, at Whitmore Manor he'd still just be a secondary child. Staying at the Juan family, he'll be freer as the only cherished child. Lord Alexander looks at me, his voice determined. "I won't let him be a secondary child. He's my and your child. He must inherit the title of Whitmore Manor." I fall silent, doubting whether he knows what he's saying. That title is only for the eldest son, but his serious gaze makes me begin to waver. He's not deceiving me, he's truly serious, and once again I feel my heart moved. Lord Alexander somehow convinced Thomas to stay at the Juan Manor for several more days. What was meant to be a short stay has become longer. I admit to being somewhat greedy before this happiness. Every day I can see him, and whenever free, he spends time playing with Ethan. The two seem very compatible. Even Victoria feels somewhat jealous. She says, "This child I've raised for 5 years, just a moment's inattention, and he's already close with someone else." She suddenly furrows her brow, staring questioningly. "Jade, the more I look, the more I see Lord Alexander and Ethan strangely resemble each other, as if cast from the same mold." I look over in surprise. Before I only thought they were similar in personality, both intelligent and sharp, neither inferior to the other. As for resembling in appearance completely, I truly never paid close attention. Victoria nods then continues. That's why I say you and Lord Alexander are truly a pair. Not joking, look. Even the child resembles him. I breathe a sigh of relief. So it's about matchmaking me with Lord Alexander again. I carelessly respond with an Then see Victoria looking pensive. Though she's approaching 40, thanks to careful maintenance she still looks very young. Even if someone said she wasn't yet 30, no one would doubt it. She was originally an official's daughter who never suffered hardship, well maintained so her complexion is always fresh. Victoria looks lovely when jealous. She sits on the railing, one hand supporting her chin, her usually cold face now softer with feminine charm. Her willow brows slightly furrow when looking at Lord Alexander and Ethan, sighing. This lifetime I have no fate with children. Regardless of whether Ethan stays with you in the future or not, promise me he'll still be my grandchild. I wonder if she fears I'll leave, or fears I won't accept her as stepmother, or if it's simply that women have melancholy days every month. I answer, life is still long. Those who leave can't be kept. Those still by your side should be treasured and looked at carefully. I glance toward the coachman standing at the small gate. When he has nothing to do, he always stands there looking toward the pavilion where Victoria often sits in contemplation. Some matters, some people don't need to be spoken of too clearly. I glimpse shyness flash across Victoria's face, her cheeks flushing pink like peach blossoms. There are things with plenty of time to explore. She shouldn't waste her youth like rotten wood in this Juan Manor. Finally, after Lord Alexander stayed at the Juan Manor for a whole month, letters from Whitmore Manor arrive urging his return. When letters from Whitmore Manor arrive asking why Lord Alexander only requested half a month's leave, but still hasn't returned to the capital to assume his duties, the reason of course exists but isn't convenient to write clearly in a letter. Finally, Lord Alexander and I return to the capital together, bringing 5-year-old Ethan. Matters at the Juan family are temporarily entrusted to Victoria. I just want to fight for myself once. When Lady Margaret sees me appear with Ethan, her complexion changes, but not from joy. She looks at Ethan then at Lord Alexander, speaking. I truly didn't expect you to have such schemes. She thinks Ethan is a child I secretly bore. I'm neither arrogant nor humble as I bow in greeting. Greetings, Lady Margaret. Lord Alexander quickly steps forward saying, Grandmother. This time I bring Jade back to marry her, to give her and Ethan proper status. Lady Margaret coldly snorts, standing blocking the entrance to the great hall with no intention of giving way for us to enter. She says, marry her. Alexander. You are the legitimate grandson of Whitmore Manor. In the future you'll inherit the Marquis's title along with current prestige. You're at the peak of glory, while she's just a chambermaid. Now even if she's changed her name and surname, she's just from a merchant family, how can she be a marchioness? Lady Margaret's attitude I had anticipated. She wouldn't agree to let me step foot into this noble family, because from the start she never thought to let me stay beside the young master. Lord Alexander stands straight, one hand holding Ethan, one hand holding mine, his gaze determined. Grandmother, I'm only here to inform you, not ask permission. You. Lady Margaret turns red with anger. Lord Alexander carries Ethan, holds my hand, and walks past Lady Margaret into the manor. No one around dares stop us, letting Lord Alexander lead my child and me to his courtyard. After 6 years apart, the courtyard remains clean and tidy as before, without any added decorations, just like his character. Despite Lady Margaret's opposition, Lord Alexander arranges for Ethan and me to stay in his courtyard. News from the palace arrives, an imperial summons calling Lord Alexander to court. Just as he leaves, Lady Margaret can't control herself and sends someone to summon me. I didn't expect her to wait for me at the ancestral hall. In the Whitmore family ancestral hall, tablets of ancestors are displayed, eternal lamps lit bright, incense smoke spreading everywhere. Lady Margaret stands there, fingers counting prayer beads. Seeing me arrive, she opens her eyes but doesn't turn to look at me. I bow with full courtesy. Jade, how old were you when you were brought into the manor? Lady Margaret asks calmly, but actually wants to remind me that my status and Lord Alexander's are different as clouds and mud. 10 years old, Lady Margaret. If not for me taking you in at 10, if not for this Marquis's manor, where do you think you'd have been sold? A brothel or as a maid for noble families? If not for Lady Margaret, perhaps Jade would no longer be alive now. So I have shown you kindness, haven't I? She finally turns to look at me. 6 years have passed. Her noble face now has more wrinkles, white hair covering her head. If I showed you kindness, why do you repay kindness with enmity? Lady Margaret, your kindness I've already repaid. 6 years ago, the task you entrusted me with was completed. But now you've returned. You clearly know Alexander is the only hope of Whitmore Manor. If he marries you, isn't that destroying his own bright future? The young master's future was never granted by Whitmore Manor. The young master is naturally intelligent. Even if not the legitimate grandson of Whitmore Manor, he could still be an official. Without you, he would rise even higher. If he doesn't cultivate himself, I needn't cultivate either. This is the promise between Lord Alexander and me. Before coming here, he worried I would regret, so he held my hand. When emotions surged, his eyes slightly reddened. He made me swear I would always stand by his side, never leave him. I promised him, he doesn't abandon me, I don't abandon him. Lady Margaret didn't expect my previous compliance was just pretense that I'm a tough person hard to break. She angrily curses several sentences. She doesn't know how to deal with me and has to endure. Lady Margaret has no way to handle me, because I'm no longer the chambermaid from 6 years ago. Now I'm the head of the Juan family, one of the wealthiest families. My adoptive mother is a noble lady, my maternal uncle is a third-rank official in court, and my maternal grandfather is a retired fourth-rank official. Though these relationships aren't blood relations, they're enough for me to rely on. Outside, strong wind shakes the apricot trees in the garden. Blossoms gently fall with each gust. The sun still gently shines on my face as I look toward Lord Alexander. His gaze is full of affection, his hand gently touching my black hair under the umbrella. His voice warms. Have you met grandmother? How was it? It seems he already knew. I softly answer, but can't help feeling annoyed. Why could he avoid while I had to endure criticism from her? Lord Alexander laughs lightly, soothing me. Next time if she summons you, don't go. She'll only scold, why listen? He adds. Today I petitioned the emperor to establish a separate residence. When the marriage is settled, we'll move there after marrying. I'm stunned. He called me to the capital but never mentioned marriage matters. Lord Alexander smiles. The child is already grown. If you don't marry me, who else would you marry? I suddenly remember at the Juan Manor there was a poor scholar who once pursued me. His voice has a hint of soreness, and his hand combing my hair is no longer as gentle as before. That scholar is already a manager now. Don't keep calling him a poor scholar. I look at the bronze mirror as Lord Alexander pins a golden hairpin carved with begonia flowers in my hair. I smile looking at him. He sighs softly as if not seeing the golden pin I chose earlier, immediately replacing it with another. Really? He asks, his tone somewhat dazed. Today His Majesty summoned me to discuss next spring's examinations. I'll be chief examiner, so I need to see everything clearly. I laugh softly, gently taking the pin from his hand and setting it down. Stop being jealous. All right? He's only grateful to me, nothing more. Even if there were something, it couldn't become reality because my heart has long had you. Lord Alexander lowers his head, a faint smile full of affection. If I didn't hold office, would you support me? He looks at me with eyes full of emotion. Will Lady Margaret agree to let us marry and live separately? He knows clearly she's been proud all her life, placing hopes on him, the legitimate grandson of the Whitmore line. Now when I have no matching status, how can she be willing? Tonight I'll go plead with grandmother. Don't worry. That night I waited very long for Lord Alexander, but he still didn't return. After instructing the wet nurse to care for Ethan, I hurriedly went to the front hall. The servant said Lord Alexander was taken by Lady Margaret to the ancestral hall. I panic and run over, but approaching the door I hear the sound of caning echoing. My heart seems to sink, legs trembling as I approach the window. Looking through the crack, I see Lord Alexander kneeling on the cold floor wearing only a thin robe. Behind him a young servant swings the cane. Each strike is heavy and cruel. His pure white robe is already soaked with fresh blood, but he still kneels straight without a single groan, his back remaining upright and strong. I bite my lips tightly, tears flowing, my heart as if being torn apart. Each cane strike he endures, Lady Margaret stands there, her eyes also unable to hide the pain. Alexander, do you still want to marry her? Her voice is full of pain, as if wanting to force him to give up. Grandmother, my heart doesn't change. He speaks each word like nailing down pillars. Do you intend to anger me to death? I've already compromised, letting her be a concubine. accepting her child into the family records. But you still won't compromise even a little. Lord Alexander kneels, his forehead hitting the floor hard. Grandmother, my feelings for Jade are carved in bone and heart, impossible to sever. She bore my child, endured so much injustice. I won't be satisfied. I can only marry her properly and legitimately. 10 miles of red dowry welcoming her through the main gates of Whitmore Manor is what she deserves. What can repay everything? Just one short sentence, but it makes Lady Margaret sway, her body shaking, having to lean on the maid beside her to stand firm. Good, very good. Since you were born I've raised you carefully. Your parents died early. Among all the world's children, I only placed hopes on you achieving glory. I loved you thousands and tens of thousands of times. I didn't expect to raise such an unfilial grandson. I'll dash my head to death at the ancestral hall rather than live to hear the world's gossip. Lord Alexander calmly replies. Grandmother knows I don't mean that. If today you truly want to dash your head at the ancestral hall, then I can only follow you underground for company. Then he continues. If grandmother thinks I'm not capable enough to bear the title of Whitmore Manor, then I'm willing to resign from office, remove myself from the Whitmore family records, and no longer be your grandson. Those words are like a knife, more painful than death for Lady Margaret. She can't let her grandson die, nor can she refuse. She would lose her beloved grandson, and even the title the family has held for generations. Her complexion turns pale, looking as if she's aged decades. Enough, enough. 6 years ago I was wrong. I shouldn't have let her serve you. She sighs, eyes looking far away. There's no 6 years ago. Jade would still be mine. Lord Alexander answers with certainty. Lady Margaret turns to leave, her eyes no longer sharp as before. When stepping through the ancestral hall door, she only turns back to look at her grandson once, then follows the maid's support away. I tremble as I step beside him, seeing the cane marks on his back. Tears fall uncontrollably. You endured so much for me, is it worth it? He laughs lightly, pale lips slightly curving up, eyes full of love. His cold hand tightly grips mine, voice gentle, Jade, don't cry. From now on, I'll be your support. That night I cried for a very long time. It seems like it's been so long since anything made me cry. When I left him 6 years ago, I wanted to cry but forced myself to hold back. This time he rebelled against all of Whitmore Manor for me, not retreating half a step. I can't suppress it anymore and burst into tears, crying until my voice is hoarse, eyes swollen. He just laughs softly, fingers gently wiping tears from the corners of my eyes. He teases, why is your voice hoarse from crying like this? It should be clearer. I'm embarrassed and blush. Lord Alexander is eager to marry me and eager to move out to live separately. Finally everything is decided simply. Only the wedding is held more grandly. Though the residence isn't completely renovated, he doesn't mind, planning to move and then gradually repair it. The betrothal gifts from the Juan family need no mention. They bring an entire street's worth to the capital, attracting countless gazes. Whitmore Manor's main gate is packed with people, everyone coming to witness the Juan family's vast wealth. Though the manor gate is packed with betrothal gifts, there still isn't enough room, so they hurriedly buy surrounding houses to store more. On the wedding day, congratulatory firecrackers echo across the capital's sky. All the prestigious families in court attend. Even the emperor and empress come to witness, because the Juan family offered many rare treasures. Moreover, Lord Alexander was just promoted, he's now the crown prince's junior tutor. After all ceremonial rites are complete, Lord Alexander finally enters the bridal chamber and lifts my red veil. Though we already have a grown child, getting into the wedding sedan for the first time still makes us both blush with some shyness. That night, following the wedding assistant's guidance, we complete the wine-drinking ceremony together. After everyone's merry noise making ends, finally only he and I remain in the room. I blush, feeling somewhat awkward, hurriedly saying, "Can we be quick?" Lord Alexander, just loosening his sash, hearing this freezes, then immediately laughs teasingly. Why is the lady so eager? His cool fingers lift my chin, eyes deep as the Milky Way making my heart beat chaotically. That's not what I mean. I stammer. It's because the steward brought several boxes of account books, telling me to review them quickly so he can take them for verification. Lord Alexander, hearing this, can't help laughing. The Juan family is so wealthy, why don't I resign from office and let you support me? His gaze gentle, lips smiling softly, temperament warm and refined like a gentleman unmatched in the world. That's the person countless capital maidens once yearned for, like an immortal's bearing. I remember how inadequate I was then, only knowing to blush and reply, "That's fine, that's fine." Back then when I was 16. I heard grandmother had bought a little maid to serve beside me. When I learned the maid was only 10 years old, I couldn't help but laugh to myself, thinking how could a 10-year-old child understand what serving means? But I still couldn't suppress my curiosity and went to look. Among the newly bought maids, at just one glance I saw she was completely different from the other maids. She wasn't curious or timid, just sitting calmly on a rock by the pond, eating sweet cakes wrapped in oil paper. I don't know why, but that day seeing her delicate hands holding the sugar cake, I suddenly didn't want to restrain myself anymore. She seemed to sense my gaze and softly asked, "Do you want some?" "This is cake my uncle bought." I asked surprised, "You have an uncle? Then why were you sold to the manor as a servant?" "Those sold into servitude are all people without relatives or without food." She shook her head. "I don't know. Perhaps in his thinking, gold and silver are more important than family." I then asked, "Do you hate him?" I don't even know why I asked that, but she still just shook her head. "I'll never forgive him." At that moment I sensed her firmness. She wasn't like those who bow their heads accepting fate. That was my first impression meeting her. Later I often visited her, bringing her sugar cakes, and gradually understood she was the chambermaid grandmother had bought for me. At that time I felt somewhat gleeful inside, but as I advanced in court and learned more things, I understood life has many things that can't be forced. For instance, the marriages of young masters sometimes can't be decided by themselves. Several times visiting grandmother I didn't see her anywhere, but grandmother asked if I fancied any young lady, preferably daughters of inner cabinet ministers, because forming marriage alliances with the inner cabinet would help consolidate Whitmore Manor's position. Only then did I understand if I wanted to keep her beside me to live together for life, I would have to pay a great price and work very hard, but I wasn't certain if that was what she wanted, or if I could achieve it. So from then on I no longer visited grandmother, nor discussed marriage matters. In my heart I only wanted to rise to a position high enough where no one could interfere with my marriage. I even thought of ways to get the emperor's decree to achieve this. The year she turned 16, she came to my courtyard. Every gesture showed she wanted to bond with me. It wasn't that I didn't want to, but that I couldn't. I wasn't certain after accepting her, whether I could soon give her status and position. At that time my position still wasn't solid enough. But then she brought wine laced with drugs. When I saw her, I only saw how extraordinarily beautiful she was. Her slender body leaning into my arms, that weak and soft appearance made me unable to restrain myself. I only told her don't regret following me without status, don't later regret and want to leave me. Finally I had her. She belonged to me. She was very obedient, at least in my eyes then. I thought she wholeheartedly followed me, and also believed she loved me. That day I knelt before the palace asking the emperor to grant an imperial marriage decree to marry her, my jade. Only an imperially decreed marriage could bring her honor without letting her suffer disadvantage. The emperor said to bring her to the palace the next day. Then he would grant the marriage because he wanted to see who had captured his minister's heart so completely. She didn't know how overjoyed I was that night, rushing back to the manor, but then never finding her again. Recently I heard there's an official named Thomas Chen who was appointed. He has a sister married to a wealthy merchant, but unfortunately her husband just passed away. Thomas felt no sorrow, instead going everywhere asking if there's any man worthy of his sister. I heard this and laughed to myself, never seen a brother so eager to find a husband for his recently widowed sister. Then through gossip he learned I still hadn't married and came to find me. That large, arrogant fellow laughed happily, looking ready to pounce. I didn't want to make enemies, so I engaged in social pleasantries. After several interactions I learned many things about the Juan family. For instance, his sister is stepmother to someone named Jade Sterling, a daughter lost from the family who was just found again. When she returned, she was pregnant but had no husband beside her. Her child is now 5 years old. I couldn't endure anymore. After 6 years of searching, I only wanted to see her immediately. I used up all the lies of my lifetime to ingratiate myself with Thomas. I said recently many people falsely claim relations, especially with the wealthy Juan family, better investigate clearly. Thus I learned about Jade's background, that she was sold into Whitmore Manor at age 10 by her own uncle. Then I said I had a dream. I dreamed of a fairy maiden and painted her appearance. I showed Thomas the painting. He looked, then slapped his thigh, saying this looked exactly like his sister's daughter. I forced a smile, teeth gritting tightly. Good, very good. My Jade, I searched for you 6 years, sleepless day and night, unable to eat or rest peacefully. Yet you quietly bore our child and lived a new life. I pretended to say I had leave time, might as well follow Thomas to visit his sister. Thomas slapped his thigh, laughing loudly, saying if I met his sister I'd surely be satisfied. I didn't know if I'd be satisfied with his sister, but I'd certainly be satisfied with his sister's daughter. Finally I met again the person I'd yearned for throughout 6 years. She was even more beautiful than 6 years ago, but she pretended not to recognize me. She even pretended the child wasn't mine. When she said she'd had a child with someone else, I truly panicked. I feared she really had found another man. What was I to do then? So I was shameless. I knew Ethan was her weak point. I treated the child extremely well. I clung to the Juan family, determined not to leave. I believed as long as I persisted, I would move her heart. No one could prevent Jade and me from being together. Not even my beloved grandmother. I could be beaten to death by grandmother at the ancestral hall, but I couldn't not marry Jade, the person I love most. Finally grandmother had to yield. This wasn't beyond my expectations. I immediately requested the marriage imperial decree from 6 years ago. However, the titles on the decree needed revision because I'd been promoted and she was now head of the wealthy Juan family. The emperor just needed to approve slightly before granting me the position of Crown Prince's junior tutor. The Crown Prince's several sons are all naughty, none as well behaved as Ethan, but to marry Jade, I endured. Finally, with 10 miles of wedding procession, I married her as my legitimate wife. I married the girl I'd secretly loved since I was 16. Now she lies in my arms, gentle and peaceful. Her elegant brows, gentle eyes, my fingers slowly trace each line of her face. My heart overflows with happiness. My secretly loved one, my Jade. This whole life will walk the path together. One life, one lifetime, just you and me. This story teaches us that true love transcends social boundaries and time itself. Despite being separated by class differences and 6 years apart, Alexander and Jade's love endured because it was built on genuine affection, not status or wealth. The narrative reminds us that self-worth comes from within, not from titles or positions. Jade's journey from a lowly chambermaid to a powerful businesswoman shows that determination and dignity can overcome any circumstance. Most importantly, it illustrates that fighting for love requires sacrifice and courage, but when two hearts are truly meant for each other, no obstacle is insurmountable. The story ends here for now. If it touched your heart or left you thinking, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Please like, subscribe, and share Raccoon Tale to help more stories come to life. See you in the next tale.